if you consider that gold and silver are the true universal currencies of the world, and really they are, right? Like valued as money for millennia by many different ancient civilizations and carried forward and hold their value throughout time, then what we've really tried to do is just overlay the latest and the greatest in technological advancement onto the oldest and greatest store of value.
Well, hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics. And today, excited to be joined by Thomas Coughlin of Kinesis Money, who has a project that many people in the audience are already familiar with Kinesis offering essentially digital gold and silver token. And something that I think is going to be increasingly looked at, where as much as a lot of us like gold and silver, one of the things that comes up is that we are living in a digital world. So if you want to buy something online or pay someone in another country, how are we actually transacting our gold and silver? And that's something that fortunately Thomas is going to be talking about today. Again, this is the same Kinesis that many in the audience have heard Andrew McGuire talk about on the show many times over the years. And with that said, Thomas, great to have you on the show today. Nice to finally catch up with you. And how are you doing today?
Very well, Chris. Thanks for having me back on. It's been a while.
Well, I appreciate that. And to start, why don't you give an overview of Kinesis? Again, many people familiar with it, but especially for some who might be hearing of it the first time, and just break down what it is, how it works, and how it's currently being used.
At its core, what Kinesis is just it's a fair and honest monetary system offering an alternative to the people with gold and silver as the base currencies for the monetary system. We offer a highly incentivizing, rewarding yield system. It's a non-debt based yield system that effectively shares the wealth. It's the transaction fees through the system and to the people in accordance with their activity in the system as well. So for the first time, we're actually offering a yield on gold and silver investment. And we're offering the ability for people to actually use gold and silver as a monetary currency to pay for their goods and services in the real world. It's an alternative to opt out of existing systems, and which some people might see as problematic, as even corrupted, and opt into new systems that are serving the people at the end of the day. And if governments aren't going to do it, then we just figure that private enterprise should do it, and that's really what we built out.
Okay, and one of the things that I think comes to most gold and silver investors' minds right off the bat, there's a lot of school of thought: if you don't hold it, you don't own it. People are concerned about SLV and GLD. Can you talk about how Kinesis is different and the procedures in place that keep it one-to-one backed and leave people feeling comfortable knowing what they actually have there?
Yes, certainly. So first and foremost, the whole quality assurance and security system of Kinesis, it goes through an institutional exchange. That institutional exchange is also operated by us, but it has some of the largest entities in the precious metal space utilizing it as well. And that's called the Allocated Bullion Exchange, founded in 2010. So it's been around for over 12 years. In addition to that, and the audits that ABX goes through, Kinesis also has designated audits, biannual audits, whereby we bring in a specialist like commodity auditor called Inspectorate, and they literally count every bar and test samples of the bars and weigh all the bars and that sort of thing as well, to come up with a really high level of confidence around the backing. So we publish all the audit reports on our website, and they're available for anyone to view. In fact, we've got one coming up. So yeah, that's that's some of the security sort of mechanisms around it. Yeah, I mean, at our very core, we are a physical precious metals provider. That's really where our expertise comes from. We've entered the retail facing like blockchain and digital payment space, but really that's just an augmentation of what we're doing in the physical space, I would say.
Okay, and how are people actually using it now? What type of purposes? I know that you guys have a debit card that is on the way, depending on which country someone is located in. But for people who are actually already signed up and on board, how are they actually going about using it so far?
Various different ways. The very first and obvious reason I would say is for investment purposes, like just to buy and hold. And by doing so, they receive our holders yield. And I mean, there was a 12-month period there after we launched that we paid out almost 7% in a yield, like what I said, the non-debt based yield, where we pay out, a share of the transaction fees. We pay out like over 57% of the transaction fees back to our users in the system. So there's just holding within the system, but they're using the gold and silver as a form of currency. So I mean, we're obviously there's nothing wrong with actually holding metal with like in your home, in your hand. We're big proponents of that. We offer physical delivery, very cost-effective physical delivery, in fact. And we are vertically integrated across the supply chain, even with our own refinery, mint, and vaults, etc. But if you consider that gold and silver are the true universal currencies of the world, and really they are, right? Like valued as money for millennia by many different ancient civilizations and carried forward and hold their value throughout time, then what we've really tried to do is just overlay the latest and the greatest in technological advancement onto the oldest and greatest store of value, and with the greatest monetary qualities being gold and silver. So that we offer the ability for people to use it as a currency, for merchants to come in, accept it as a currency. We've got different kind of payment functions, like you can send the currency to people, receive currency, send it to merchants, use it as a form of payment, use it on the debit card. We've got other payment facilities in the United States, like with cashback functions and stuff like that. So there's many different ways that you can use it. So yeah, and it really suits everybody. And perhaps, if you're holding precious metals, it's worthwhile having a look at us, even just from, a small portion of your investment portfolio to diversify into, Kinesis and what we're doing.
So essentially, people could almost be using it as a form of storage where they're buying metals and it's being stored there, and they also do have the delivery option. Would that be a fair way of looking at least one application of what you're doing?
Certainly. There's the delivery option. We're also about to launch, like imminently in the next day or two, our retail-facing bullion store, whereby anyone can actually purchase one of our beautiful bullion products as well. But we offer the effectively redemption on our set products that we store as part of the pool of Kinesis that backs the monetary system. But also you can use your gold and silver currency to buy value-add products. It might be, smaller bars or coins or rounds or whatever it may be. You can use that to take possession of your precious metals as well. So yeah, there's no storage fees on holding the Kinesis currencies either. In fact, it's completely the inverse, the way it normally works in a like an investment platform, in that you don't actually have storage fees, you actually receive a yield, and the yield for holders is quite substantial.
Yeah, and perhaps you could dig into the yield there as well, because again, as we know with things that we hear about FTX and some of these other crypto exchanges, I think people are perhaps rightfully so on edge when they're not clear on where things come from. And perhaps you could explain that a bit so that people could understand exactly what's going on there.
Yeah. So the yield system was put in place for a very specific reason. One, we view this as being more than just a, a a monetary system with gold and silver backing. We view what we're trying to build out, what we are building out, and now we have about 170,000 active users, is like a collective sharing of wealth. So instead of us charging like a transaction fee and just booking it through as revenue and putting it on our balance sheet, like they do, and running away with it effectively, we decided, and this is what the blockchain does for us, along with the other utility that comes from blockchain and decentralized payments, is during the month, it aggregates the transaction fees into what we call the master fee pool in the blockchain. As in, everyone can log into our blockchain explorer and view this, and you'll see the master fee pool accumulating throughout the month. At the end of each month, we distribute it to the different users, including ourselves, at the end of each month. So the users receive 57.5% of all the transaction fees out of the system. And we've got holders, we've got what's called minters that bring the currency to life and then send, spend, or sell it. We've got a velocity yield as well, which rewards spending within the system. We've got a referral yield as well, which which rewards referrers, and also it actually rewards referees. We've got another program for that. I'll get to that later. But yeah, like rewards referrers for organically growing the system by referring users in, and we also have a Kinesis velocity token, which 20% of our transaction fees go to as well. But that's really the way that it works. It's just there's no debt. It's a non-debt based yield system. There's no lending. In fact, we wouldn't even know how to lend out the assets or anything like that. It's just a very simple system that's the way that it works, and it's designed to reward the users of the system.
Okay, that makes sense. And one of the things I heard you mention in another interview you did recently is that the spreads I've heard in general are pretty tight, and also that basically you're getting close to offering wholesale pricing on silver. Could you talk a little bit about that and what type of rates people pay? I know that you guys have the coins and bars that you're minting, but let's say someone did purchase a token and take delivery, what actual product they're getting and how the pricing works on that.
Yeah, sure. I better pull it up. So yeah, the spreads are really tight for the physical markets, and they actually compete with pricing that you will see in the paper markets. But yeah, we're in the physical market. So I mean, at this point in time, for silver, if we drill into silver, um, just looking at like a 5 cent spread. See, we operate. It's an exchange where you've got multiple buyers and sellers in the system, and you also have a market maker that has a set spread within the system. At the moment, if you were to log into our and look at our silver token KAG, or silver digital currency KAG, there's a 5 cent spread. So bids at 22.45, and the ask is at 22.50. So that's for silver. I think 5 cent spread's pretty good in the physical markets. In gold at the moment, okay, the bids at, and this is just the market makers bid and ask. There's no other users in between the spread. It's at 56.91, with the offer at 57.03. So 56.92. So it's fairly tight spreads. There's deep liquidity. Someone can come in and throw millions around, and you're just hitting, basically, there you go. You're logged in. So yeah, that's the spread there. And I mean, if you go to the KAG, if KAG is there, yeah, you can just change it there, and you'll see the
Yeah,
spread
we, we
there.
like we like
So
silver on our show here. We talk to the gold people
yeah,
too, but we're big silver fans. So
yeah. So you can see some other users in there that are outside that are inside the maker's spread there. So that's it's it's tight spreads. It's cost effective. I know that a number of our users have gone through the whole well, not a number, lots of our users have gone through the whole process of taking delivery and then documenting the costs associated. I think they've determined that it's the most cost effective silver they can get in the market. So it's cost effective and it's easy to use. We've got a beautiful platform. It's 5 years in the making to get to where it is. We've got a long way to go. We're working hard for all of our stakeholders, all of our participants in the system, and you'll see more and more features come out. And really, we're looking to grow this from the grassroots. We're actually working with a lot of grassroots communities out there that are choosing to opt out of existing corrupted systems and opt into new systems that serve the people. And that's really the largest inspiration around what we're doing.
yeah, and one question that popped up as you were saying that, we have a lot of people watching in the U.S. and Canada where premiums are elevated. Let's say someone just wanted to buy the token specifically as a means of getting physical. I know you have some wholesale dealers. Our friend Jim Forsyth of Silverback Precious Metal, I know he distributes some of the products you have. How does that compare to if someone purchased the token and redeemed it, or in net, if somebody was just looking for silver and trying to get a good price over spot? What are they looking at in general there?
It does vary per product. Effectively, the smaller in size that you go with the product, and the higher the premium. I'm not actually entirely sure of the prices that Jim's selling it on to, because we wholesale supply Jim, and actually even like Jim is a wholesale distributor as well, going out to bullion dealers across the United States. And effectively, as soon as our product lands on the shores of the United States, it's gone. So we've had to open our bullion store. We've had to store up and reserve a certain quantity of liquidity in our metals to be able to offer that to the retail public. And we can give you a link that because this bullion store is going to be going live as this I think interview gets released. We can give you a link to actually showcase it. But yeah, I mean, I don't have the full list, but I know that we're very, very competitively priced in comparison to other mints throughout the United States or other bullion dealers throughout the United States. I mean, we're operating at the wholesale level. We do want our distributors and our wholesale clients to be competitively priced in against us. So the retail pricing is I think it's still very competitive if you look at other retail facing bullion dealers. But we're largely a wholesale player that's entering the retail space when it comes to physical bullion.
And so would it operate differently, or what would be the mechanics as, let's say, someone went to Jim versus if they actually buy the token and then redeem the delivery feature?
Our prices in our platform, I mean, they're going to be below, I believe, what you can get the actual physical for. It's just the way that it is. I mean, we're taking in that like 1,000-ounce like London Good delivery bars, storing them and offering fractional ownership of them for silver, and then obviously kilo bars for gold. And yeah, no, that's so we can get those at more competitive premiums and therefore pass on those cost savings of the wholesale pricing within the system. So you start to break it down and make the bar smaller, then it's a value added product at the end of the day. So buying our silver digital currencies or our gold digital currencies are going to be more cost effective than actually buying the physical. And not only that, you can liquidate them more cost effectively as well. So sell them more cost effectively.
Okay, so and it sounds like that's you taking some of that silver out of the LBMA, where it looks like their stockpile's been going down quite a bit over the past couple of months.
We're,
Um,
we're
last
trying to do our part.
Well, it's interesting, and actually, we're recording on Wednesday the 30th. Comex, I believe they're registered today, just dropped below 34 million. So certainly quite fascinating to see how these stockpiles are going down. And that aside, though, last question I had for you today, Thomas. I know that you've mentioned that you guys are involved with governments in certain countries on certain levels. And I'm wondering, let's say that US or some other country actually did make the decision to go back to a gold backed currency, which I don't know how likely it is we're going to see that in the US, although given the way some things are looking right now, maybe not as far off as we might think. But let's say they did decide to do that. I've wondered how that would actually be executed mechanically, and is Kinesis could conceivably facilitate something like that, or anything. Obviously, I know you can't share the details of a private contract, but anything that you could speak to along those lines, or any examples you are able to talk about, maybe with what some of the other governments are doing.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's no secret and it's very public information that we've been engaged in a nationwide project in Indonesia, which is quite significant. Indonesia is the fourth most populous country in the world, behind the United States, I believe. 280 million citizens, so it's a big country. Quite a bureaucratic process to work through, and then aligning and tying up with the number of different government-owned organisations, including the post office and their national exchanges, and going into state pension funds and the state-owned airline and these kind of organisations that we've been linking up to. But quite interesting, I would say, because obviously there's the central bank in Indonesia who also, they're very aware of what's going on, but you do have like patriotic politicians at the top sort of cabinet levels that are looking to have implement a system that actually serves their citizens. So we've been working with the very top people in Indonesia to roll this out for the better part of 5 years, actually, which might seem like a very long time. I think for actually rolling it out, like in a country that size, is not that long. It got really delayed during COVID times. We were supposed to be launching a couple of years ago, to be honest. So our community got a little bit frustrated with those delays. But when public transport and all sort of public events get completely halted, things get delayed. But anyway, so we're rolling out in Indonesia. That's a sequential rollout plan. We're about to, before the end of the year, there should be an announcement around the launch through the post office. We've launched through one of their national exchanges already. So that's a big deal. We're about to also announce and it's gone through a significant bureaucratic process as well. Just when you think that it's going to be really short, you get told that it's going to be a short time, it's still at the government level. Nothing seems to be so short. Like another Latin American nation will be announced shortly, and that's a very different kind of country to Indonesia, but that's excited to announce that. And we've been working with other nations throughout Asia and Africa and also Latin America, with probably the longest list in Latin America. They've been keeping a close eye on progress at the diplomatic level of the nation that we'll shortly be announcing in Latin America. So to to answer your question, yeah, we do provide solutions at the government level, whereby, and I think we've sort of made a bit of a name for ourselves now in in providing these solutions at the government level. Plenty of interest out there, in fact. So, and it's there's nothing wrong with the government offering a parallel monetary system to sit alongside their fractional reserve central banking fiat system and offering the ultimate choice and optionality to their citizens. So this is really like the value proposition that we offer to governments, and yeah, there's a lot out there that love it, to be honest with you. So yeah, and we continue to be excited about working with more and more governments, and there's actually even some states in the United States that have reached out. They're setting up study groups and to assess whether they can do this and that sort of thing as well. And we've been working with a couple of states to do that. It's all lots of very interesting sort of moves going on beneath the surface. I think there's been a consciousness shift to understanding that, hey, this fractional reserve fiat system, it really is just an experiment that isn't going to last forever, and we should be looking at other options that maybe in the short term will give us a competitive advantage, in the long term perhaps ensure our survival. So yeah, that's what I'd say there.
And so are they looking at it just as an alternative option, or are some of them actually thinking about going to some sort of gold or silver backing?
So this next nation, Latin American nation that we're about to announce, they will be like it's gold and silver currencies. So they have their own current currency, and so then it will be a new sort of gold. If I say the name of the currency, everyone will know what it is. Gold currency and silver currency, whatever their currency is. But in addition to that, we're developing the full digital infrastructure and technology to facilitate this payment system in country. So tying up against all the major merchants, in fact, being able to pay taxes in it, and for merchants being mandated to accept it as a form of currency. And so like it's a full mandated parallel monetary system.
Well, that will sure be interesting to keep an eye on and see how that plays out. I mean, I'd be fascinating to watch the gold-backed currency compete against the government-backed currency, and we'll see who's left standing in a couple of years. And it's in Latin America. I may just head straight down there soon enough. And just exciting. I mean, all the years that people like you and I have been studying gold and silver and talking about it, and I know there's that part of the mind where you hear about something so long and people are like, okay, wake me up when it happens. Yet I think a lot of the reasons people have been turning to gold and silver, we're seeing them play out, and they're, well, I guess maybe at some point do become an overnight thing at one particular point in time, but there's a long progression to when these things develop, and just exciting to see that you guys have really been making a lot of progress. I know Andrew McGuire has been spreading the word and doing a great job of educating people about gold and silver, but just to actually see that now the governments are taking heed of that, and I think that's a big step forward. So congratulations on all of your progress and success there, Thomas. And people have questions, or if they want to get started, would like to open an account or find more information, what could you offer there that would be a good starting point?
So yeah, just go to our website, kinesis.money, and there'll be a big sign up button there up in the right hand corner, and just sign up and log in. Chris, you should set up a referral link, and you can put a referral link there, and
I
as
got
part
one of those
that,
already.
this is what I was going.
I've been getting some
There you go.
minting tokens, so I check into that every once in a while, and yeah, people really liked when Andrew was coming on the show more often, and so yes, I have that, um, and I see that you
We'll get
have the
him back on.
chat down here as well, so that if people have any direct questions, an easy way to get started, get things answered before they do anything.
The other big thing to note as well, and this benefits you as well with your referral link, Chris, is anyone who uses, like, refers someone else in, both the referrer and the referee will receive half an ounce of silver. So, and that's an immediate thing. Well, you have to sign up, and if they deposit in $100 and then spend $100 on the virtual debit card, then that activates that reward. Alternatively, conduct $3,000 of trade in the system, and as soon as that happens, then half an ounce of silver is rewarded to both referrer and referee. And obviously, there's a sharing of transactions with the referrer from the referee as well. So this is all designed to help, incentivize the organic growth of the system and help it expand just on its own weight.
Yeah, and I know you touched on this a little earlier, although one last thought, just as you were saying that, to put it in context, would it be fair to compare it similar to the way Visa or MasterCard, when they do a transaction, there's a fee paid there, generally by the merchant, and that is where the yield, the equivalent of that would be where the yield is coming from on Kinesis?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, there's a transaction fee um, to the spender when they actually spend on the virtual card. We are rolling out physical cards that will have like negligible fees. So, and that's to the user, and we will be sharing what's called the interchange fee. In the United States, you have an interchange fee which goes to basically the merchant. So that will be shared with users as well. In the rest of the world, there's basically no interchange fees shared. So, yeah, I mean the blockchain, for every transaction when you send like to someone else, then there is a fee charged. But what we do is just share it. So that way everyone's sort of rewarded. Yeah, there's a fee to actually use the system, but you're rewarded through the use of the system as well. So we have to keep the lights on. So unfortunately, we have to charge fees, but everyone can benefit from it as well.
Well, Thomas, I sure appreciate what you're doing out there, and it's just nice to see that we're taking a step forward in terms of providing some infrastructure for gold and silver returning more regularly and more common practice as money. So again, you can find out more at kinesis.money. Link to that in the description field below. And Thomas, we'll have to follow up with you again soon. Seems like things are moving quickly, and we'll have to check back in a couple months and see how everything's coming along.
Definitely would love to come back. Thank you very much for having me on, Chris. Really appreciate it. Thanks for everyone tuning in as well.